So this video is for final expense agents that are frustrated in dealing with debit and credit cards and want to know how to effectively deal with collecting payment when you use a debit or credit card. Greetings and salutations, it's David Duford, owner of Duford Insurance Group, where I train and recruit agents nationally to sell things like final expense, Medicare, and annuities, both face-to-face and over the phone. Make sure you subscribe and like if you like this video. So today we're going to talk about how to deal, sometimes frustratingly, with final expense payment terms like with direct express debit cards and credit cards. The reason I'm putting this video together is a lot of you are out there selling final expense either face-to-face or selling final expense over the phone, and you've experienced customers that have only some sort of reloadable card or a credit card even sometimes, or a direct express, and you've probably noticed that the quality of business from those cards isn't necessarily the best. So what I'm going to do in this video is kind of give you my thoughts on whether or not you should accept those forms of payments and what you should do about it if you do, in order to give you the best chances of a higher persistency and getting the best results out of clients who have these kind of debit cards to set up their payments with. So what, first of all, is the issue with debit card business to begin with, right? I mean, geez, they give us their money and they tell us we can draft the cards. Why is that any different from a checking account? Well, so here's the problem in essence with a debit or credit card user. People who use in the final expense business, most commonly a debit card, there isn't a lot of credit cards, at least I've experienced, tend to be these kind of reloadable cards that aren't tied to a real or normal checking account, that the client goes to Walmart or to some place to put money on it as they please. You don't necessarily have the money deposited on these cards. The other thing too is that it's been my experience, if a client opts to have one of these forms of payment, as opposed to having a checking account, which in most cases they don't, they typically aren't a good client because they've had issues in the past with keeping their checking or savings account in the black because they spend too much on it, it goes in the red, it overdraws, and then they never end up paying it back. And then they're reported to a credit bureau, much like agents are reported to the Vector if they don't pay back the chargebacks. And these people can't ever open another real banking account. So it tends to be that the folks who have debit cards are selected to be poor quality and not as good managing their money. And so it kind of follows that a lot of them don't have good money habits. They don't keep money in their bank. They pull it all out before the drafts come in to hit. And they cause a lot of problems for us agents that the only way we keep a policy on the books is if we set up a recurring regular payment, right? So the problem with this is I think is just the nature of the clients that we're dealing with that tend to be in this particular situation because they got to have an account to get their check every month. But they tend not to be the best at being a little more careful with their money like a lot of other clients are, which leads to this persistency issue. So how do you handle this, first of all? What can you do, if anything, to reduce the number of frustrations that you run into when you run a debit card type of final expense business? So the big thing I would suggest is absolutely use the Social Security deposit billing feature on these companies that many of you have access to. In fact, what I would absolutely recommend is to only run business with Social Security deposit billing for anybody that uses a debit card. And most of these people are retired, so they are getting disability or they're getting Social Security. I would never run a product or a company on a debit card basis if I did not have the ability to do a Social Security deposit billing, because I know I'm running the risk that if they show up on the 2nd on a Friday to draw out their money, and we can't draft till Monday because the 3rd, typical draft date, let's say, is on the weekend, banks don't allow drafts, and then I'm probably going to lose that client because they're pulling their money out and they're going to go party on the weekend and buy smokes and booze, and there's nothing I can do about it till Monday and there's nothing there. So the solution really is to draft them on the exact day they get their deposit And the only way to do that with consistency month in and month out is using a Social Security deposit billing feature. So should you even accept debit card business? Now, this is something a lot of agents have asked me over the years. Is this something that you walk away from? Is this something that you even deal with? And I have talked to agents that really kind of fall into both categories. Some people absolutely hate any kind of debit card business, including Direct Express, and they refuse to take it because of all the problems and troubles that are associated with it. On the flip side, personally, I believe in taking every piece of business that I can get. I am willing to take a chance on somebody that I feel has a predefined need, they're concerned, and they want to solve a problem they have in their life because they don't have life insurance and they want that life insurance to give them the kind of peace of mind that they're not getting. So I personally take the risk on, and I think there's maybe been one, maybe two cases where I didn't. But most of the time I always took it, and I always felt like, yeah, the persistency was problematic more so than checking account or savings account businesses, but it wasn't so problematic that it was a net negative. One of the good things nowadays is that most companies now recognize a lower quality of business with debit card business, so they do not advance commission on it. You're only going to get paid as earned commission. So what I would do is be a little more comfortable with it. You know, if it makes it the full 9 months, 12 months, great, fantastic. If I only get 3 months, 6 months out of it, it's just what it is. But at least I'm not advanced commission on it. And that's what would make this a lot worse, right? If you had chargebacks with a type of business that lapses more often, it's going to be very much more painful. So bottom line, for me personally, debit card business selling final expense over the phone or face-to-face is completely acceptable. Be careful of which company you submit them to. Again, I would recommend choosing a carrier that does Social Security deposit billing. Don't set one up that only does a numerical date. You're liable to run into lapse issues more often because of mispayments, etc. So just find a carrier or two that you like that do Social Security deposit billing. Send that business that way. Just be careful sending too much business of one type to one company that does offer debit cards. There are companies in this business that if they see that you send a lot of debit card business with you, they'll terminate you because they don't want just your crap business. They want the good stuff too. And many of them offer the debit card business just as a way to get the other business as well. Tell me what you think about debit card business when selling final expense. Do you love it or do you hate it? I'd love to hear your comments below. Just click below and leave them. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe and like this video. And if you'd like to learn more about DeFord Insurance Group, go to the links above and below to learn more about how selling final expense Medicare and annuities works in my agency. Thanks for watching.